Hi, I'm from Brazil. Yeah, I'm Brazilian guy. My native language isn't English, so I might slip up here and there. If you got any tips to help me get better, I'd love to hear them. Let me give up a quick rundown about myself and where I'm from, alright? The story goes back about 31 years, when I was a lot younger and still figuring out what to do with my career. A buddy of mine told me about this non-profit and NGO he and some friends were putting together. They were still working on getting the license, so it wasn't officially a thing yet, but the place was already up and running. I decided to check it out. I found the idea interesting, and we drove out to ABC region in Greater São Paulo, or Grande São Paulo, until we reached a little dirt road, the Great ABC or O Grande ABC region. It's basically state's backyard, interior in Portuguese, of São Paulo state, featuring a mix of urban and suburban environments with a more relaxed lifestyle compared to the bustling capital. We walked down this small road and arrived at a low wall with a little gate on the side. That was the house where the NGO would be. It was a single-story house on a low plot of land. You had to go down about 10 steps to get it. The stairs on the right side, it takes us to low-lying plots of about 350 to 400 square meters. To the left stood the house, beginning with a small patch of land that would eventually turn into a little garden. Next came the first room, which doubled the initial classroom, typically used for physical activity. Beyond that was the main room, where the entrance door opening to the space where we'd gather. A simple setup with chairs, a couch, and a shelf, not too elaborate. Downstairs with 2 steps, a hallway led to bathroom on the left, followed by the kitchen to the forward. The right side of the kitchen had been converted into another classroom, equipped with chairs for lectures. At the far end of the kitchen, on the left, a door opening to the back of the house. A short staircase of the first step descending to the tangle of weeds and a small stream. To the right of the steps was the owner's bedroom, deliberately set slightly apart from the rest of the house, right next to the kitchen, as he preferred it that way. The first meet really fired me up, and it wasn't long before I hit it off with most of the group. Weekends were a highlight for me, knowing I would be joining them. Well, the meetings themselves were serious, but once they were over, the fun kicked in. That was one of the coolest things about this crew. Stay focused when it mattered, but as soon as serious stuff wrapped up, then loosen up and crack jokes. Well, the humor was straightforward, swapping stories, sharing goofy moments, dreaming big, that kind of thing. Big parties weren't really their styles. They kept it chill with some music, casual chatter, and a few drinks. Yeah, I started diving head first. There was a stretch when I was so wrapped up in that I practically lived at the NGO more than my own place. As you get to know the people you work with, you start picking up on little quirks. And I've got to say, most of the crew that was pretty one of a kind. A lot of them were into alternative beliefs, stuff that wasn't exactly mainstream back then. I remember 2 of the girls. Don't forget to subscribe the channel, drop a like, and share this story with your friends. Got it? Straight up calling themselves witches. This was 90s, a rogue decade, and that kind of the things that was still a big taboo. Others dabbled in different practices, but that's beside the point. You also had the skeptics and the more emotional types, and people like me, who just clicked there. Everyone was pretty open, tossing around, all sorts of topics, even spirituality and like. Many of them were artists or musicians who later teamed up, formed bands, and created alternative music. The group was incredibly talented and sharp, which totally hooked me. Sure, I'd met plenty of people before, but none had that kind of vibe and grit. Oh, it ramped my excitement for what was going on. During the day, the place buzzed with kids pouring in for classes, which was lively and fun to see. Parents often jumping into, and it was clear our work rubbed some folks in low-income community the wrong way. I don't even need to spell that out, do I? Yeah, we ticked off a few folks, and at times we felt a little boxing. But we kept pushing forward without any real trouble. There were times I hid home to deal with my own things. Other times, when everyone else was tied up with their own commitments, I just hung out at the house. There wasn't really a need for anyone to stay. The NGO had enough work stealing. It was therefore the biggest score we ever got was donation for some silkscreen work after a while, but honestly, I wasn't much cash. So that wasn't any pressing reason to stick around, but we did anyway. Felt good to have someone there, keeping a vibe alive and showing the work was still rolling. I spent a few years at the NGO, and during that time, some pretty wild stuff started going down. What I'm about to share next hit me the hardest. At first, there were the rational folks on one side. Some hardcore skeptics, others like me, open to spiritual ideas, and then the full-on spiritual crowd on the other. I was curious about how they took it, what they felt, what drove them. They had a stash of books, and I remember there was some serial shades from a certain Brazilian author. That's where I know the book itself was straightforward. A light adventure, just a simple story that left you feeling good about the character journey. Not fancy, but that was my challenge while digging into this book. I spent night after night reading the book. I stand in front of the living room door, and right beside it was a stained glass window. No real curtain on it. One night, something really caught my attention. Something that bothered me, cause I started hearing footsteps. To clarify, the hallway leading to back of the house had a gravel floor, so anyone approaching was easy to hear. That's when I thought, could João be back? João is the name I will use for the house's owner. By the way, our name is here will be changed, okay? João is a Portuguese name, and its English equivalent is John. So the pronunciation is quite different. Despite I feeling strange, I tried not to bother and kept reading the book, since it was probably someone from the group that hangs out here. What really got to me was that other days, I'd stay alone in the house for 2 or 3 days straight, and every single day those same footsteps echoed outside. What really got weird, the NGO had a dog, and that mutt was never around when it happened. That's when the creeps really kicking me. My spine tingled cause on top of footsteps. I started to pick up on some serious bad vibes. Maybe it was just a fear messing with me, but it didn't add up. Those footsteps kept passing by the door without ever stopping. I just didn't sit right, and before you start wondering, yes, they sounded like human footsteps, not animal ones. As I pointed out, we did buffer some people in the community without meaning to. So was someone trying to force their way into the angel? Were they trying to scare us in some way? The strangest part was that no one ever tried to force a door. It was just those footsteps. When João showed up, I brought it out with him. In the same day, Luis and Renan swung by. They weren't regulars in the place. They just dropped in the crash for a few days. Renan was the one who popped up the most, pretty much every weekend. Luis to the only stop by every once in a while. He was one of the more level-headed ones like me, we tossed around the idea that someone might be trying to sneak into the NGO. So the four of us agreed to spend the night there and see if those steps would show up again, or if I was just losing it. Yeah, I was starting to question my own grip on reality. The day rolled around and the group started trickling in around 6 p.m. We chatted up a storm and had a blast until it was the time to crash. Oh, which was after midnight. Hanan stayed on the classroom while I slept on the mattress in the main room and Luis took the sofa there too. João headed to this room. That night I cracked open book. They flickered off the lights, so I kept reading by the glow of a small lamp and a flashlight until those footsteps crept back in. The real jolt hit when Luis turned to me and said, "Hey, I'm here too." I shot him a look and fired back. "So now you believe me, huh?" Oh, it was real and not just my imagination. Someone else was picking up those steps too. We jumped up, flicked on the hallway lights in a flash and started peering out the window. I pressed my face in the living room window, scanning to the dark. Luis bolted to the shack, the classroom window. Then we made our way to the chicken, nervous on edge. Nothing. No one in sight. But it was dark around. Those footsteps kept going, like someone was lurking just out of reach. Luis and I were totally shaken up. No doubt about it. We weren't about to step outside. No way. So we stayed put eyes through the shadows, waiting. Sleepiness slammed to me hard. We left the lights on this time, and I figured I'd try to crash. I sprawled out on mattress and shut my eyes, but sleep a long time coming. It was a night laced with wine, and those footsteps were bound to creep back in. Luis, like me, seemed to the brace for it. What jolted me more than footsteps outside was Luis suddenly bolt upright. We flicked the highway lights back on. Hearts racing. Nothing. Zero. No sign of anything. So we killed the lights again. But this time we agreed to keep that quiet and look through the window. About an hour later, those footsteps crept back in. This time, Luis lost it. He flipped on the light, flung the door open, and chattered out into the hallway. Nothing. He didn't see a thing. He turned back to me, his face screaming, "How the hell is possible?" The truth is, we were both on edge, our spine tingling and nearing chill. Whatever it was getting gutsy. Still, Luis wasn't done. He bolted up two stairs on the street, desperate to catch a glimpse of someone, anyone out there. A suspect maybe, or at least something that fell off. He headed downstairs. Before he even stepped inside, something downright went down. It sounded like several cans, maybe a bunch of them, being scrapped along the street. At the same moment, every dog in the neighbor, front and back, erupted into the frenzy of the barking, like the zeroing on the house. Oh, a cold shiver shot through me head to toe. Luis slammed the door shut behind him in a hurry. We flipped on the light in the room where we were holed up. Luis looked like a ghost, grasping for some logical explanation, but Evie was stumped. Well, we had to wake John and Hannah. Once they were up, we filled them in. João said he hadn't seen or heard anything, but I still felt a knot in the stomach.
Well, if someone's trying to break into my house, we can't just sit here,
he said. Now picture this. It was 1995 or 6. I can pin it down exactly. Back then we didn't have phone like has now. The phone, not work, didn't get its big upgrade until 98. Calling the police right then? Not really an option. We were on our own to sort this out. So we sat on a plan, kill the lights, stay in the room, and wait in the dead silence for whatever might come next. Oh man, it didn't take long. The steps again. This time, it wasn't just me or Luis. All four of us heard it. We snapped the light back on, flung up the doors to living and the kitchen, and the race around the house. Well, nothing. Not a trace. Just a footstep lingering in the air. When we hushed up, doubt crept in. Were we all losing it? Imagine things? We closed everything up again, turned off our lights, and locked the doors. We sank back into the room, this time armed to the teeth, or as close as we could get. Not guns, not fancy. We just grabbed whatever was lying around. A fork, a knife, a chunk of wood, and a rusty chain. That was our arsenal. We stood back to back, hearts pounding, wait for those steps to slip back in. But this time I wasn't just footstep. I shivered hitting me. I swore someone else was in the house and lurking in the kitchen. I wasn't alone in the feeling. All eyes snapped to the kitchen. Then we all flinched, nearly jumping out for the skins as the living room chair started scraping across the floor. Seconds later, a metallic screech echoed from the kitchen. Yeah, the only metal things in there was the propane tank, and it sounded like it was being hauled across the kitchen. That froze us solid, chills racing down our spine. João's eyes were huge, his hands trembling. We scrambled after him, me lagging as the last to stumble him. When I got here, he was white as a sheet, rattled to the core. Then he stammered.
There was no shape. It kind of slid through. It drifted right past me and slipped through the living room.
It took forever to settle our nerves. Renan, João, and Luis shuffled off the bathroom first, planning to talk it out there. I hung back, sorting my stuff, but that brief pause was enough for more weirdness to kick in. Sounded like a kitten dishes hadn't crashed to the floor. We all bolted back to the shack. They spilled out of John's bedroom, where they been huddling, and I stumbled out of the living room where he's been packing, already half set on ditching the place for the night. But I'd have to hold off. The middle of night wasn't the best time to head out. Morning will be better. Still seeing the kitchen in total chaos left me gutted. A few hours later, I finally went home. I'll admit, I steered clear for days after that. Dragged myself back to the work eventually, but the spark I'd had for it all was gone. I stuck around the NGO a little longer, but honestly, I was done. Back then, I wasn't really to tangle with anything supernatural. I was still scarce. Down the road, I started digging into this kind of stuff a bit more. That whole mess sparked a wave of personal struggles. I'm not sure if it was tied to what happened, or just bad timing. Either way, I let it go. I never went back. I no clue if that house is even still standing. But man, what an experience. Well, that was a count. I hope you forgive my poorly pronounced English and the lack of expressiveness. I'm going my best to sound a bit more natural. Here we have an occasion that I believe is similar to what many people in different countries might have experienced. In the future accounts, we'll dive into something with creatures from out there that now roam Brazil soil, with other featuring local creatures too. So, did you like the story? What's your opinion? Was it really something supernatural? Or just another delusion? An hallucination? If your comments about what happened, and if there's anything to could improve my communication, don't forget to let me know. Thanks and bye.